Hi there, Erin Lee here of heavenlymessenger.com. Thank you so much for joining me for this evening's connection with intention. One of the things that I always appreciate about you guys is that you are willing to be flexible with me. My intention last week had been to do the show on Tuesday night on my birthday. I was really excited to do it, and yesterday was one of those days that just didn't go as planned. There was a lot of extra stuff and the heat that I melt in. So thank you for joining me for tonight's connection with intention. So one of there's been so much that's been going on energetically. There's a pile of stuff going on. We've got the new moon that's coming up. It's tomorrow. If you missed Universal Connections Oracle chats on Sunday, we did do some releasing and some forgiveness and some manifestation specifically for the new moon. So please feel free to check that out. We did that on Sunday. There's a lot that's going on. There's a lot that's happening. Energy is really kind of all over the place. But one of the things that I have noticed for myself that has a bigger overall message. If you've been around for a while, you know that I have said that I don't do mediumship readings. It really is not my forte. And it's something that I've really closed down for a long time. But I've been noticing more and more in my personal sessions that I have with people, mediumship is coming up. And more people are wanting to connect with their deceased loved ones with me and through me. And I kind of see, I've put it out there to universe, and it feels like universe is saying, well, Erin, maybe let's expand that a little bit. So, just because you put up a boundary with the universe, sometimes universe will override that. But I think the bigger thing and the bigger reason that that energy has shifted for me has a lot to do with hanging out with Miss Bobby Roundtree, born medium. And it's a reminder to me that the people that we choose to spend time with, the energy that we surround ourselves with, what we consume, whether it's what we're listening to or what we're watching, whatever we experience, that starts to be reflected back to us. And we also start to have those experiences within us. And it was a really significant reminder that it's important to pay attention to who you're choosing to spend time with and the energy that they're bringing to that relationship, because their experiences, whether it's intentional or not, can start to become your own experiences. Now, does that mean that I'm saying you should completely drop the best friend that you've had forever because they're going through a rough time and you don't want it to bring your energy down? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But if you do have somebody who's going through a rough time, maybe instead of like crawling down into the hole with them, maybe we're looking for ways to really see where they are and to support them where they are and be the one that helps to lift and raise them up in a way that's appropriate. That also feels like that's a really loaded example as well. And, really recognizing and honoring that when we're in a down place, that we do need different things and at different times, but recognizing yourself, what you have to give and how much you're willing to take on or to absorb of that. And if you are also highly sensitive or clairsentient or empathic, any of those things, to be aware of what boundaries you might need for yourself as well, so you don't take that on, so you don't end up down in the hole with them. Please pay attention and be aware and see if you start to notice different things that you're saying and doing. Another example that pops into my head with that, and then we'll move on to something else. I had a friend years ago. She was a really lovely person, but she used to say this thing that absolutely drove me crazy. She used to say, all of a suddenly. And for me, that was like nails on a chalkboard. It's either suddenly or all of a sudden, but never is it all of a suddenly. And so this was something that had really kind of gotten to me over time, over the course of our friendship. But, she was a really awesome, amazing person. And honestly, like that's a really silly kind of pet peeve to have. And then one day I said it myself. And even though I was super aware of the fact that it drove me crazy and it wasn't how I wanted to speak or to present myself, just having been exposed to it through her and like the way that she said things and how she interacted. And it was something that I picked up, even though I was consciously aware of the fact that I didn't want to say it myself. And I think that's also a really important reminder that the people that we surround ourselves with, the music that we choose to listen to, the content and the media that we choose to consume, the movies that we watch, the television that we watch, they're at no other time in history have we been so bombarded by outside influences as we are at this time. And just recognizing the effect and the impact that those influences can have on the way that we speak, the way that we think, the way that we feel. And in fact, I have some interesting ideas about how this constant bombardment is actually increasing our empathic sensitivity, because we have to become aware of what's coming at us, and we have to make proactive choices in what we're choosing to consume, what we're choosing to be around, what we're choosing to experience through our media and social media and all of those other things. So may this be a quick little reminder to pay attention, to do a regular check-in. How does this make me feel? Is this something that I want to reflect out into the world? And is this something that I want to be reflected back at me? But remember, we always have choice in what we experience. Amazing. So I want to do a quick hello to everybody. It's always such a pleasure to connect with you guys. Kareen, it's so good to see you. Thanks for joining us. And Carrie, I don't know about a new forte, but it's perhaps another door that is refusing to remain closed. Yuri, hi. It's so good to see you. It's been so long. Tamra, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. I so love connecting with your loved ones too. Amy, it's wonderful to see you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Can we just take a moment to send Amy some love? Amy says that the love of her life passed in January. And although I'm talking about mediumship, I'm still not ready to do it in this format. For me, mediumship takes a lot of time and preparation, and I only have a couple of minutes with each person. So we won't be taking questions just yet, but I do ask for questions that aren't mediumship related, and that they be specific. I'll go over that in just a minute. But Amy, I'm so incredibly glad you're here. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And Carrie, Carrie says, and all of a suddenly, I wish to say hello. I love you too, Carrie, and thank you for teasing me. Awesome. Tamara, I'm so glad that you resonated with the points. And Sarah, hello. Josie, it's always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Carrie, thank you so much for sending love to Amy. One of the things that I love about the community here on my page and the community that has come up around Universal Connections is that there's always so much love. So thank you for loving each other. That really makes my heart sing. So, Angie, I'm so glad that you caught me live too. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for that lovely compliment. I so appreciate it. Margaret, hello, and JC. Oh, Tamra, you're so sweet. Tamara says to book an appointment. I really appreciate that. And actually, what I do want to say, because Tamara has said that, the next couple of weeks I have family visiting. In fact, they are arriving very late this evening. So the next 3 weeks are really kind of hit and miss in terms of appointments. But I've also realized that I've got some stuff personally that I'm going through right now. And so I've closed off a lot of my appointments for the month of August. If you are really needing to get in and to connect, please drop me an email. Where I can, I will fit people in on that basis for the month of August. But the next 2 weeks, things are pretty booked at this point. I think I still have an opening. I had a cancellation for tomorrow at 1 p.m. So just to throw that out there, that availability will be limited. And also on top of that, because I have family coming, I haven't seen my sister in 8 years, and we haven't all been together in that amount of time. So it's pretty special. So I'm taking the next 2 weeks off for the show. If I'm somehow able to fit it in somewhere, then I absolutely will. It will be just kind of on the fly. We'll pop in. But the next couple of weeks, I might be kind of MIA. So if you're wondering what the heck's going on with Erin, that's what's happening. Awesome. Josie, we're going to get to your question in just a moment. So I will put it out there. If you guys have questions that you'd like to ask, please feel free to do so now. I love doing the choose your adventure, your choose your crystal adventure. So what we're going to do is take a moment and here we go, throw myself in the bottom there. take a moment and think about a question that you have, something that you're wanting some insight on. If you don't have a particular area in your life or question that you're really wanting to focus on, take a moment right now and just ask, what is it that I need to know right now? And that can be plenty. And once you have a question or a couple of questions, I mean, you can ask as many questions as you want. Choose a crystal to represent the answer to the question that you're asking about. And while you're doing that, I'm going to start shuffling the cards. So our first card that we have on the left-hand side is Black Moonstone. And I'm just going to pick that card. The crystal in the middle is citrine. And so ask, is your question best represented by the message that we're going to receive for citrine? And the very last card that we have, crystal, I keep saying that. The very last crystal that we have is angelite. Is your card or your answer best represented by the card that we're receiving with angelite this evening? I'm not going to go into too much detail with each of the crystals, but Black Moonstone, for me, it's really a powerful, like intuitive, get right in there. It's a wonderful crystal for the new moon that we're coming up on. Citrine is all about clearing and releasing. And in that way, I see it as being a crystal that helps us to raise our energy and vibration. It's constantly clearing itself. And the last crystal that we have is the angelite. And as you may have guessed with the name, angelite helps us to communicate with our angels. So I know some people like to have a bit of background on the crystals that they're choosing, and others it doesn't matter. So, all right, we've got the crystals, and I'm going to start with the Black Moonstone. So if you chose Black Moonstone this evening, the card that we have for you is the Ariel card. And this card is all about new psychic experiences and understandings. So specifically, it says here, new psychic and spiritual experiences are changing the way you view the world and yourself. Allow your spiritual gifts to open through study, prayer, and meditation. And, like if there was ever a card that was talking about growth on that spiritual level, this is it. This card is saying it's really important to pay attention to the synchronicities that you're experiencing, the little aha moments that you have, and not only to pay attention to them, but to take action on them as well. One of the beautiful things with receiving intuitive messages, or important, I should say, the important things about receiving intuitive messages is not only recognizing that you are receiving a message. So it's really easy to say, oh, that was just a coincidence, or just to kind of brush it off. But if you recognize you're receiving a message, that's really important. And then understanding what that message is saying. So is the message saying that you need to make a change? Is it saying that you need to avoid someone or something? Is it that you need to change path? Or is it like a confirmation that you're on the right path? Understand what that message is, and then take action on it. There's no point in getting the messages and the information if you're not going to do anything about it. It's kind of like going to an amusement park and collecting a whole pile of tickets. You win the tickets and then you can exchange them for a gift or a toy or a prize or whatever. It's like collecting all of those tickets and then just taking the tickets home with you. Like, the point of getting the tickets was to get the prize at the end. So in terms of like intuition, the prize at the end is the action that we take, because that's where the change is going to happen. So this card for me is not only about like learning new things and understanding new things and being open to those new experiences, but also to take action on them. So for me, it's very much an action card. If the card that came up for you, or the crystal that came up for you, was the citrine, the message that we have tonight is it's time to move on. It's time to let go of the old and the worn out so the new can come in. And this to me is really significant in a couple of different ways. I mean, like I think about the releasing work that we just did on the Oracle Chats show on the weekend. Letting go of what no longer serves so we can invite new in. It's kind of like clearing out your closet. Like if you want to bring in new clothes into your life, get rid of the things that you're no longer wearing so that you have room to put your new clothes or your new experiences. This to me if we take a look at the card itself, we've got this beautiful, she's actually a mermaid. You can't really tell, but that's what she is. And she's looking back over her shoulder, but look at how much light there is and how much illumination there is around her heart. And her heart is what is leading her forward. And so, if you chose the citrine card, well, I mean, citrine itself is all about clearing and releasing and not holding on to. So there's something about what you've asked about that's time to let go of. And this isn't in like a negative sort of way, but this is in a really freeing way. Like, how am I going to bring new experience into my life if I'm holding on to the old stuff? There's a lot of gentleness for me that's coming up with this. I loved the movement of the water. And if you're having a hard time releasing things or letting go of things or identifying what needs to go, if you're able to spend time at the water, if there's a lake or the ocean or moving water in the river that's available to you, amazing. If you don't have that, because that can be a really significant luxury, take a shower or a bath and set the intention that either whatever it is that you're needing to release becomes really clear, or asking that whatever to be released needs to be released rather, or setting the intention that whatever is ready to be released, that it be released. It can be a really powerful. Water is such a powerful force of nature. And if you chose the Angelite card, I love this card from Archangel Ariel. So this is Archangel Ariel, and her message is all about courage. She says, be courageous and stand up for your beliefs. Archangel Ariel has been coming through more and more for me personally to connect. And she is that friend who always has your back. She's the one where if you've got the if you've got the body in the trunk and you're not sure what to do with it, she's the one who's going to help you get out of the mess that you're in. I mean, like, angels certainly do not encourage you to go offing people and to drive around with them in your vehicle. Like, that's not the point of the story. But she is the friend who will always have your back, who's always going to push you and encourage you and support you to make changes. So whatever you have asked about, if you've chosen Angelite, know that it's time to take some action. It's important to stand your ground, and that might involve a bit of courage. If you're having a hard time doing that, you can always call on Archangel Ariel. She will definitely be there. And if, down the road, you're like, oh man, what was the name of that angel that Erin was talking about who was always going to have my back? Angels, please help me, is all you need to say. I'm struggling with this. I need help and support with standing my ground, or with making this change, or telling this person I need them out of my life, or they need to be in my life in a different way. And I'm having a hard time doing that. Angels, please help me with this. That's all you need to do. Awesome. So we've had lots of questions come in. Amazing. I love how amazing you guys are. Josie, awesome. Okay, so Josie's wondering if she should change her employment. I'm feeling torn with this, because it feels like there is an energy that you've kind of gone back and forth with for a while. I'm seeing that there are like positive aspects with it, and a feeling of I do have a feeling of satisfaction with parts of your job. But then there is something else that feels like it is just a big headache over and over. I kind of feel like I'm hitting my head against the wall. And I'm kind of wanting to talk about change or lack thereof. And so I'm really torn, because I'm seeing that there are lots of aspects of your work that do work. But I'm also feeling this frustration that's mounting as well. I can't make this choice for you, but there is something that's pulling me and asking me to stay a little bit longer. October is popping up as being significant. And hold on, I'm getting something else with that. So if part of the reason that you're asking is because you're wondering if like the job situation is right for you, the message is hold off until October if you can. There's something significant that feels like it's shifting and changing, and it's going to make the decision either like a heck yes, I'm going to stay, or a, oh my God, get me out of this place. But if the reason that you're questioning it has to do with like a health and wellness, and is this in your best interest, or should I be taking some time for me to slow down and to do some healing or whatever, then the message that I have is take a look at the end of August. You're going to know really strongly whether or not it's time to say, hey, I need to take a step back from this. So there are kind of two different things. either way, it does feel like there's a shift that's happening in October, and I'm not completely ready yet to say like, hey, this is done. It does feel like there is opportunity for shift and change. And it feels like the change is going to be enough that says all of these positive things really are starting to outweigh the challenges. So that says to me that there's the potential for pretty significant shift. All right, Josie, we're just going to ask what messages is coming up for you around that. We're going to the Archangel Oracle card deck. And we've got the courage card for you. So again, this is Archangel Ariel. She came up with the Angelite card for us earlier. Be courageous and stand up for your beliefs. And, from what I felt, because I think we've kind of talked about work in the last couple of weeks on the show as well, is that there is something that you're needing to stand up for in the work situation that you're in, and that it's important that you don't back down on it either. So it could be that what we've got coming up is going to come to a head. And also what I'm seeing, just kind of pulling that August message that we had coming in, is that possibly there's need to take a bit of time off, and that might be part of what allows you to get to October to see what changes are coming up, because it feels like there could be enough push and force to actually make some change. But do call on Archangel Ariel, ask her for help and support. Typically Archangel Michael helps and supports us with our life path, but I found that Archangel Michael and Archangel Ariel have some really similar energy to that. So you can ask her for help and support in making the choice that is in your best and highest good moving forward, because I am really wanting to focus on your own health and welfare and making sure that you're okay. Josie, it's always such a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and lots of support with either staying or making that change to leave. All right, Yuri. Hi, Yuri. Thanks for joining us. Yuri's wondering about romance and relationships. There's someone here I'm interested in, would like to know if I should pursue it. She's a bit younger than me, mid-20s, and similar to somebody that I told you about before. Okay, well, let's take a look and see what we have. So when I connect with the energy that's coming up around you, I've got like a lightness, and the sense that I have is kind of from the person that you're asking about. Um, a desire not to completely like settle into something that's feeling really solid and relationship-y. So it depends on what it is that you're looking for. This person feels like she's somebody who is really interesting to explore with. She's showing me like travel, that she's wanting to have experiences, she's wanting to do and to try new things. And that feels like that fits kind of with where you are. But she's also showing me that she is needing that freedom and flexibility to explore and to experience, and that she's not completely in a place where she's interested in settling down or tying down. So if that works for you, then yes, absolutely. Please explore this relationship and this connection that you have with this person. It feels like she's also interested in you as well. So I see that there's lots of opportunity, but the big thing that's going to be the thing that is the difference between yes and no is what it is that you're wanting and needing now and in the foreseeable future. Like I'm seeing the next 6 months to year and a half, because exploration is coming up as being something that feels significant for her. And so if you're like, yeah, you can go and travel and I'm going to do my thing and you do your thing, and then we'll come back and we'll connect, and then, we'll both go off and do our own thing. Like if that's where you are, then that feels really great. And I do see that there is opportunity, and it feels like in the future, if you guys are both wanting to kind of like settle into something that's a little more solid and a little more permanent, I'm seeing that as being a possibility. It's going to take some time to get there. But in terms of like the person that she feels like she is somebody who is definitely worth getting to know more, and exploring and experiencing life with. Yuri, let's just ask about this potential relationship and partnership that's coming up here. And I keep hearing groovy, like it's really groovy. Interesting. So the card that we have here is sensitivity. This is Archangel Haniel. Her message is you are extra sensitive to energies and emotions right now. Honor yourself and your feelings. So it's interesting to me that Archangel Haniel has come up around this. First of all, she is the angel who really connects with the energy of the moon. So we are on the cusp of the new moon. It's happening either later tonight or sometime tomorrow. Like we're right in it. And what she's saying with this is to make sure that you're really paying attention to how you feel. So, how do you feel when you're connecting with this person? How do you feel when you're not with this person? And really honoring those messages that are coming up, recognizing that potentially like your sensitivity and your awareness around that is starting to increase and to become more accurate. I think that's the word that I want to use. Is that it feels like it's really something that you're learning to take into account in the decision making process. One of the things that can be challenging for people, particularly if they have like a really linear, like logical, like math, sciencey, analytical kind of mind, is bringing in like intuition. It's something that you can't touch, you can't taste, you can't really like quantify it in a really physical way. So taking that intuition into account in your decision making process can be really interesting. But what I find is that bringing that intuitive component, and so like that emotional and that energetic component into your decision making process, actually gives you the pieces that we're often looking for when we're having a hard time making those choices and decisions, because we don't have enough of that logical data to pull from, because the emotional plays a significant role. So Yuri, I hope that sheds some light on the situation that you're in. Certainly this person feels like somebody really interesting and worthwhile knowing. So I hope that things work out for you in the best possible way. It's always a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you for joining us, Yuri. Sending big hugs, lots of love, and romance angels your way. Awesome. And yeah, Black Moonstone. Margaret's just saying that Black Moonstone's calling her. I love that crystal. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. And okay. So, and also Carrie's chosen Black Moonstone too. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's just a power crystal. What is my manifested partner feeling? Ooh, that is such a cool question. I don't think I've ever had anybody ask a question in quite that way before. All right. So, okay, so what I'm getting is he's showing me, and I'm hoping that I'm okay in saying he is showing me that he's kind of getting his groove back, and I'm literally hearing like he's getting his mojo back. And it kind of reminds me of a kid learning to ride a bike, falling down, scraped knees, and working on picking himself or herself back up and getting back on the bike again. So that's kind of making me wonder if there's either some sort of romantic challenge that this person has been experiencing, that he's overcoming, that he's healing, and it's like, yeah, I'm getting ready to get back on the horse, so to speak. Or there's some other aspect of his life that has a significant impact on his love life. So for example, if work is crazy busy, often people don't have the additional time and energy to put into like love life and romance. So there is some significant component in his life where he's just being able to put that to rest, and he's now coming into a place where he's feeling like he's ready to start looking. So the sense that I have is that this person feels like they're close, and yet they feel like I can't reach out and touch them just yet. But I'm wanting to encourage you to manifest feeling and experiencing their energy. And I know in a lot of manifestations, we really focus on having like skipped over like all of the dating and the getting to know you, and like right to how does it feel to wake up with your partner in the morning, and how does it feel to live your life and your day-to-day life with them. I'm wanting to scale that back a bit, in part because I think from a dating perspective, we often skip over those really important and essential steps, particularly as adults. Like we're less inclined to skip them when we're in our teens and possibly into our early 20s. But, like once we've had kids, or we're, past our 30s or whatever, it's kind of like, well, if we're not going to set up shop and set up house, like what else is there? So this feels like this is encouragement to, like, as you're manifesting this partner coming in, manifest the dating experience, the experience of really getting to know each other, of spending time together, of having fun with each other, because the dating experience is a big part of what helps to create the foundation that our relationships are built upon. And in like fast forwarding through that, we kind of end up with a bunch of like mobile homes that you can put down, but you can also pick up and move really easily. And although that certainly has benefit, a lot of us are really wanting to have relationship that has foundation and stability and longevity. And so focus on manifesting the experience of the creation of that foundation together. Let's take a look and see what else we've got coming up. We're going to the mermaids and dolphins because there's a lot of action step that's coming up for you. So what does Carrie need to know about connecting with her manifested partner? Helpful person. So the card we have is helpful person. Someone wants to help you. Think of whom that might be and initiate contact. And, I don't have anybody in particular who's sticking out to me for you. But more what it feels like is you're reaching out to your network and you're letting people know that you are like open to new partner and new relationship and new connection. It's surprising when we talk about being single and we talk about being open to a partner with like friends and family or possibly on social media if you do that thing, but that often people don't really kind of start thinking about, oh, Carrie, Carrie would really be good with so and so or so and so or so and so. And so I see this helpful person being like the activation of your social network to help bring you and your partner together, because there is a feeling of some form of connection that's coming up between the two of you. I'm hearing like Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of separation coming up really strongly. So yeah, activate your social network. And I'm saying it in that weird kind of way because I'm seeing you being really playful with it. So have fun. And that also is coming true for your manifestation as well. Often we focus on manifestation like, bring me this person, but play and have fun with it. Carrie, thank you for allowing me to get so silly with your reading. I am sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and lots of manifestation energy your way too. May you and your partner manifest each other into each other's lives. Okay, we've got Tamara here. Hi, Tamara. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so could you please tell me if you think Keith, the one I told you about, amazing, I was thinking about that the other day, is going to move here, and if there's any romantic long-term potential? If not, I'm okay with that too. I love you too, Tamara. Okay, so I just want to take a moment to really emphasize one of the things that I think is so significant and important that Tamara has put into this. If not, I'm okay with that too. When it comes to doing readings, particularly if you're doing a reading for yourself, and I mean, romance for me is one of those areas where like it can be really difficult to do a reading for yourself because we're so invested in it. We're so invested in the answer. Am I going to marry this person? Am I going to date this person? Is this the person for me? Are we going to have a baby together? Like all of these things that we're really invested in, it can really skew the answers that we get. So if not, I'm okay either way is an amazing way to approach a reading for yourself or for somebody else, because that lets like the trueness of the energy to come through for yourself or whoever is doing the reading. So I just had to like highlight that and to thank you, Tamara, for bringing that little lesson today. Okay, so let's get to you and Keith. So he's showing me that he's working around making change, and there's something that is calling him. Like as soon as I started tapping into it, like I felt my sacral chakra came alive. And so I mean, like sacral chakra, I mean, that's the sexual energy in the body. So certainly that could indicate that there's some chemistry between the two of you that's pulling him back. But I'm seeing this being more like it's like being called to a place. So it feels like this is something that's already on his radar and his awareness, that he's wanting to make a shift and a change so that he can spend more time here. He is showing me still being pulled away. So even if he were in a place where he was able to make this like his home base, it still feels like there are things that would pull him away and for travel. That doesn't feel like that's a make or break. In fact, it feels like that can be a really positive thing in a relationship that develops between the two of you. I am wanting to still kind of feel things out a bit. And so I don't know if this is coming up from like where you are in your healing journey and how you're feeling. But like I'm wanting to really test the waters before I overly commit to this relationship and connection. But that aside, like that said, this does feel like there's a lot of openness that's here. He's telling me he's not a narcissist. I don't know if that's something that somebody who wasn't a narcissist would say. So, like take that as it is. I don't know if you've had conversation with him and you've been like, yeah, a lot of the guys I've been with have been real narcissists. I'm not sure if that's why he's telling me this. But he's like, yeah, no, that's not me. But he's got a great sense of humor because in addition to that, he's telling me that he's got other flaws. And other challenges. So I do appreciate a sense of humor. It feels like that is something that you look for in a partner, and he's showing me that he's got a lot of that. Again, he's showing me travel. He's feeling pretty grounded. If he's able to make this area his like part of his home base, I do want to encourage you to explore this because it feels like there's a lot of potential here. There's certainly plenty of attraction. It feels like there's a lot that you guys can talk about and share about. And he's showing me that you guys have the ability to make plans together that both of you really resonate with and that you're ready with. So yeah, he's feeling like a really solid, good potential. Again, I have this hesitation with like firmly committing with something. And I mean, at this point, you guys, it doesn't feel like you know each other well, but it's definitely worth exploring with him. He feels like he's a decent person, and he's showing me that he's not just going to up and leave you, and that he's like not going to ghost. And I know in this day and age of like social media and online dating and all of that, that can be a concern. So he's got some values behind him that are important. Okay, Tamara, what do we need to know about your relationship with Keith? The card we have here, this is interesting. It's compassion. It's Archangel Zadkiel. Soften your heart with respect to the situation and all the people involved, including yourself. So yeah, for me, this is really indicating actually some self-healing, and that it feels like there is some stuff that you're still working through and still deciding. And one of the frustrating things is we tend to do that until we're in relationship, and then we've got a whole pile of new stuff that we're healing because we weren't being triggered because we didn't have that relationship. So I suspect that it's this hesitation to like firmly jump into anything. I do want to say that at this point, the hesitation really feels valid, but that it feels like you're kind of checking yourself as you get closer and closer. And it's like, okay, is this still warranted or is this old stuff? So I suspect that that's where you're offering yourself a bit of compassion and allowing yourself to move forward. Tamara, it's always such a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support, and romance angels your way. Hi, Julie. Thanks for joining us. And Leslie, too. Hello. And JC said she chose Angelite. That's amazing. Let's just do a quick check-in with your kids. I'm seeing like bump, bump, bump. So it feels like they're showing me, okay, they're sectioning kids off. So they're showing me these two. Good. Then they're showing me the other one. And so I'm wanting, he's wanting to focus on him. So that says to me that we've got some energy and attention. And this might be an appropriate example as we are in the middle of the beginning of a heat wave. He's showing me the feeling of like a fever having broken. So like something that his body has been working hard to purge, to regulate, to shift, to change. That's in a place where it's breaking so that things can start shifting and getting better. And again, like I'm getting a lot of healing messages because like the next thing after we've got this fever breaking, he's showing me like learning to walk again, as if he's like had a broken bone and being on crutches, and he's like learning how to reuse those muscles and those things. And so he feels like he's in a pretty significant learning phase right now, which is feeling really positive. because I am seeing him being active in the process and in moving forward. So he's showing me that he's in a good place. He's still got a ways to go. Like, he's still kind of limping with it. He's still learning. He's still figuring out, but he's okay, and he's got some forward movement. He's pointing me back to the other two. There's a sense of celebration that's coming up for one of them, like an accomplishment or something that they've been working towards that's being realized, or possibly like a new member in the family. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I am feeling a sense of celebration for one of the other two bops that we put off to the side at the beginning. And then I've got a feeling of peace that's coming with all of that as well. Again, like, I felt like I was really reaching and pushing and driving, and then I was able to take a breath and to sit back and to relax. And this feeling of, it has been a push, it has been a lot, and now I can relax because I know it's going to be okay. So there's a lot of calm that's coming through. I don't have a specific person that's connected to. My hope is that the calm is coming for you. Let's just see what messages are coming up. I'm just going to ask generally about your kids. So we've got Caressa here, and Caressa talks about like endings and conclusions. You are at the end of a cycle in your life. Call upon your angels to comfort you and to guide you to the next step. Happiness awaits you now. And to me, this is kind of like the epitome of that last message, where we're able to come into a place of calm. Like, we have understanding about what's happening, and we're no longer needing to worry. Things are really apparent, and now we can start to like process and to put aside, to heal, to release, to let go those things that we held for so long. We can put them aside, and we can start moving into and transitioning into this new place. One of the things I'm reminded of is that even if what we're moving into is something that is positive and happy and exciting, we often need that decompression time, especially when there's been a lot of stress that has been leading up to it. And in the same way that our society doesn't really do grief well, like, we don't really recognize grief and the grieving process and all that people go through when they're doing that. We also don't do a very good job of recognizing this transition phase, particularly when we're transitioning into something happy. And the fact of the matter is, we're still shifting gears. We've still had all of this other stuff that's brought us to this point. And the importance of honoring and recognizing what we've been through in that, and in doing that in this transition time, it actually allows us a deepening experience in the things that are positive and happy. So taking that time now for that. JC, it's always a pleasure connecting with you. I'm so grateful that you joined us today. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love to you and to your kids too. Awesome. Julie, I'm so glad that you caught us on the live as well. Thank you for joining us. So Julie says, a random stranger recently told me I have a silver aura. Oh, right before my surgery. What do you think of that? That's a really great question. Auras are not a lot. I don't do a lot of work with auras, so I'll just ask what we have coming up. And for me, I've got like a lot of glowing and a luminescence. And as I ask about it, I keep hearing like the silver lining. And part of what I'm wanting to say to that is, it feels like the silver lining that is you, that is your aura, is the silver lining in a lot of different experiences. And part of what I'm seeing is, I'm going to explain what I'm seeing in the best possible way that I can, and then I'm going to give you what I feel this message is. I'm seeing the strings of a lot of balloons that have helium in them, and I'm seeing them as being in silver in color, and it feels like this silver in color is representing the silver lining of many challenged clouds, or many dark clouds. And that you're taking each of those silver linings and you're braiding them and you're weaving them into a tapestry that is in some way becoming part of the aura and the energy that you infuse into the world, into your life. And it feels to me like this is actually showing a lot of resilience that you have, that there have been a lot of challenges, but that within those challenges you've been able to find, to hold, to incorporate all of the benefits that you've experienced from them, and that you've woven them and created them into this energy that surrounds you. I mean, to me, that speaks to, I mean, like hope and faith, and a belief that things can be better, even in a place of like challenge and difficulty. And it also shows me that those things are the things that illuminate from you, as opposed to like the darkness of the challenge that has brought it. And I mean, in order to have, if we're continuing with this analogy, in order to have the number and the amount of silver linings in order to create an aura that is of silver, you would need to have gone through a lot of challenge. And the fact that what you've held on to from that has woven this tapestry that has become the energy that you approach life in the world with is pretty freaking amazing. So again, like that goes to resilience, to faith that you have, to the way that you choose to live your life. And if you're like, Erin, I don't know that that is what I've done, or how I've lived my life. And that's totally fair. But whether it's something that you've chosen, or whether it's something that your soul or angels or helpers or whatever your belief system is, that they have created that for you, says that maybe now is a time to start looking at life in that way, and to see, not only, yes, that there have been challenge, but that you've also been able to create things that are amazing. And now that you're aware of that ability, what can you do from here? Like, what can you do from this point now that you have this awareness and this information and this energy and this ability? Like, wow, that's huge. So Julie, I'm really excited about that. I wish that I knew specifically about auras and about the color silver, but that's what I'm seeing when I ask about meaning for you. Let's just take a look. We're going to go to the Archangel Oracle card deck. I'm just going to ask, what does Julie need to know about her energy and her aura? This is so interesting because this exact card came up earlier. And as you can see, I am shuffling them. So this is Archangel Zadkiel, and his message is compassion. Soften your heart with respect to this situation and all the people involved, including yourself. So this is a calling to be compassionate with yourself, recognizing that in all experiences that you've been in, you've done the best that you could with the resources you had, with the knowledge that you had at the time. And now that you know better, you can do better. And it feels like it mirrors that very last message that came out, was that if you didn't resonate with the messages that came up, allow this to be the time, the moment, the pinnacle where you said, I'm going to take this energy that I have around me, this gift, this ability that I didn't realize I was subconsciously, unconsciously creating, and I'm going to be conscious about how I'm doing it. Julie, I'm blown away by the messages that came through for you. I'm so incredibly grateful that you came this evening, and that you were able to join us live. Thank you so much for popping on. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. And I'm hearing to call on Archangel Zadkiel. It's spelled Zadkiel. If you need any help in finding compassion for yourself or anybody else who you're healing with right now. Thanks for joining us. Kareen, hi, we've got Kareen here. Thanks for joining us. As always, it's great to see you. She says, I've been working hard with diet. Oh, amazing. To reverse my diabetes. My results will be answered in my blood work, but also had COVID last week. Now my ankles are swollen and my heart aches. Had vertigo. I'm hoping my doctor will have answers to help me feel better. I know my angels are showing me love. Absolutely. Pardon me. Absolutely. Let's take a look and see what messages we have coming up for you around health. So what I'm kind of seeing is somebody who is like going and running. Actually, hold on. the specific example that I'm seeing is an experience that I had when I was in grade 7. So again, bear with me. I was never an athletic kid, like ever. It was always the worst thing. I hated cardio, I hated running. But this one particular day, I was running from my portable to like the school because we were going for some sort of assembly, and I started running and I just gave her. And like all of the other kids were left behind me, and I was like in the zone. I was stretching out. It was a really good run. And then I slipped and I fell and I crumbled and I just fell and I probably skinned my knees, and I wouldn't be surprised if I like ripped my pants because it was on gravel. And I remember one of the kids that I went to school with, I think probably because he was pretty shocked that I'd run that way, because I certainly never had before. And he kind of laughed and he beat me to the door. But whatever, that's besides the point. That's the that's what I'm seeing, is that you were doing really well and you were just in it and you found your stride and you found your groove, and COVID just kind of came along and it just kind of veered you off course. It feels to me like everything that you were doing, that you are able to pick yourself up. Yeah, you might be a little bit bruised from what you experienced, but it feels like you will be able to come back into a place where you're able to run. And certainly you're going to make it to the door before the last guy does, because you're almost already there. So it feels like part of this is a bit of a blip. At the same time, I am wanting to encourage you to continue working with your doctor, because it feels like the experience that you've had has brought new things to the surface. And I don't want to say that this was a positive thing that came from COVID, but it feels like it might be bringing to light things that were underlying, that had been challenges for you, and it's just kind of bringing it up to the surface. So we were just talking about silver linings with Julie, and I'm seeing this as being a bit of a silver lining as well, because it feels like you're able to get the attention and the support that you need for other things that are happening. But as I talk about it, like, I'm seeing this being a little bit of a balancing act, a little bit of a juggling act. So it doesn't feel like things are needing a complete overhaul, which feels good. But again, that there are little tweaks and little shifts and little changes that can be made. And I'm seeing your healthcare professionals being really helpful with that. And I'm also seeing them taking into consideration the work that you've done, the progress that you would have made before you had this little blip. And it feels like they're kind of saying, okay, well, let's take a look and see where blood work is like 3 months from now or 6 months from now. And let's see if there's some little adjustments that we can do to help with the other things that have come up. So all of it feels like it's positive overall. And it feels like you're in a good place. And as you are physically able to, I want to encourage you to continue with the things that you had been doing, because it feels like you'd really found your groove and your balance. And that is awesome. So let's just take a look, Kareen, and see what messages are coming up for you around health. We've gone to the mermaids and dolphins deck. And part of actually what I'm hearing as I'm pulling the card is rest. So do make sure that you're taking some rest. But the card that we have for you is the alchemy card. And it says specifically, you have the Midas touch right now, and every project you begin turns to gold. And what I found is when I'm talking to people, sometimes they've heard of the word alchemy, but they're not too familiar with what it means. So just to give you a really super quick history on it, back in, I think it was the Middle Ages, it was a very long time ago, there was a group of people, they were alchemists, and what they were doing was they were taking common metals and trying to turn them into gold, because at that point gold was like, we talk about gold standard, because that was the standard, that was like the currency, and at that point gold was valued above anything else. And wouldn't it be amazing if we took like brass or copper or whatever, something that was significantly cheaper and much more abundant, and turned it into gold? And so things get kind of fuzzy and hazy for me for exactly Midas's story, but the idea was that whatever Midas touched, whatever he approached, it would turn to gold. So he would take something that didn't have value, or significant value, and he would just touch it and he would make it into gold, which had like ultimate value. What that says to me is you have the ability to take something that doesn't seem like it's working right now, and to turn it into something that does work really well for you. Again, I'm seeing this as being a confirmation of the things that you're doing, and if possible, not to become too disheartened by the experiences that you have coming up with COVID. Do please have your doctor check them out. Make sure everything is okay. I am not a doctor. I cannot offer you any form of medical advice, but I'm seeing this as being a positive, and I'm seeing the progress that you made up until this point as being really positive. And it feels like coming into a point in place where you're able to continue with it is only going to improve the health conditions you're dealing with. Kareen, it was such a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. And we'll ask Archangel Raphael to come and help and support you in the healing process and the healing journey you're on right now. Thanks for joining us. Let me see. Oh, Josie, that's amazing. Josie says that they did a river cleanse last night. It was so enlightening and beautiful. Josie lives in my community, and as I said, we're in a heat wave right now. Just even going to the river, period, feels amazing. But connecting with that energy and doing releasing and cleansing, oh, that's so powerful. I'm so glad that you had that experience, and for everybody else who was with you too. Okay. Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Thanks for joining us. I am so well. Thank you for asking. So Kristen's asking about the relationship that she's in and asking if it's going to be one that's long-term. I'm just going to assume that we're talking about romantic relationship, because with this type of question, that's almost always what people are asking about. Yeah, it does feel like it's got long-term, like we've got longevity that's coming up. um I'm reminded of like rumble strips on the road. So in places here in Canada where we need to really be slowing down, so often going into like school zones where maybe the speed drops down from 60 down to 30 like really quickly, we'll have like these little mini strips. They're not speed bumps. Like speed bumps would be big like this, but they're like little wavy strips, and we call them rumble strips. And that's what I'm seeing coming up. So we don't have like really big challenges that are coming up, but you've got a lot of tiny ones that come up really quickly. And basically, they're catching your attention. It says what we really need to focus on with this is not so much the rumble strips themselves. So it's not like the challenges that we're dealing with. It's more, how does this person function as an individual when challenge comes at them? How do I function? Are we able to function together? Are we able to work together? So the rumble strips, again, I see as being something that's positive, and it is taking things from a fast speed and it's slowing it down. So it says to me that you guys are at a place in your relationship where you're really needing to ask some questions. Like, we're no longer in the honeymoon phase. Now we're looking at like that long term, that longevity. How do we work as like our fundamental selves? So it feels like you're in a place where you're starting to ask those questions. Oh, like that really quirky kind of thought and idea that this person has, is that something that really goes against like my feelings and my beliefs? And is that something that like I can tolerate and I can work around? Or is that just like something funky? It's part of their character and who they are, and like I don't necessarily agree with it, or maybe it drives me a little bit crazy, but it's not a make or break, and it doesn't have a really significant impact on our day-to-day lives and our ability to function with each other. It feels like that's the point in the place that you're coming to. So that says to me like you've got compatibility on like those bigger levels. Like there's attraction and connection, and you've got like bigger long-term ideas that mesh, because you've come to this point where you're asking this question: is this somebody I'm going to be with long term? And as I said, what I'm seeing is that you're coming up against opportunities where you're given kind of a bit of a trial run, and I see that as a positive thing, because it's going to show you either where you need to work on things or where things just aren't going to work out. I do have a lot of faith that you guys can figure out those things, and you can find fixes for them, or you can bring awareness to different things. Like, oh, when this person does that, then I know that I can't take it personally, because that's my trigger and that's not what their intention is. So you're coming up against a lot of that kind of stuff. It's not really big stuff. It's not really that like they're cheating and that's it, I'm done. It's the small testing. So if you can look at it for what it is, not something that's trying to push you apart, but rather say, okay, well, this is something, how are we going to navigate this as individuals and as a couple? And can we figure something out together? Can we develop our communication skills so that we can sort this stuff out? those are the things that you guys are looking at right now. But I do have a lot of faith, as I said, that you can figure things out. So when I ask about like messages for your relationship, what do you need to know? Morning affirmations is what is coming up. Say positive affirmations each morning to open the gates of manifestation. So for me, this comes up with a couple of messages. One, paying attention to how this person or how you approach life. Do one or both of you go into like the Debbie Downers, into like the what if down game? What if this awful thing happens and this other awful thing happens and this other awful thing happens and suddenly you're down at the bottom? Or are you able to say, hey, like this thing happened, it wasn't great, but then this awesome thing happened and it gave us the opportunity to look at this. Like, how are you looking at the world? Also making sure that the energy that the two of you are experiencing and sharing together is in alignment. And if you're able to, after we finish the recording, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to the first 5 or 10 minutes of what we talked about, because it feels like it's relevant to your relationship and to what's happening. But basically, we're focusing on the energy of the people who are around us and the energy that they're bringing into our lives. Is this something I want more of? It feels like that's more where you are in the relationship process, and that's going to tell you really solidly if this is somebody that you do want to continue working with, or if you're like, I think I'm going to bow out now. But as I said, I've got a lot of hope for you. Kristen, I'm so glad that you joined us. Thank you so much for popping on this evening. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love, and romance angels your way. Oh, Josie, I so love you and your support and your love too. Thank you. Love and hugs right back to you. And Angie's saying, lovely angelite message. I'm so glad that you resonated with it. My reading for myself today talked about courage. Oh, and the same message twice. You are so welcome, Angie. I'm so glad that you grabbed that. And it's really interesting. You know, we talk about recognizing what is intuition and what is ego. And intuition or messages from angels, they'll keep coming in, they'll keep repeating themselves until you get it or until you take it. So, you know, sometimes people say, hey, like I keep getting the same message over and over again, and they're like trying to get your attention. One of the best ways that I have to describe it is like, say you're standing there with your microphone. This is my big microphone, and somebody's going like testing, 1, 2, 3, and you can hear them, but you're like, I don't know, I can't. What are you saying? And so they just keep going, testing, 1, 2, 3. I don't know, I can't hear you. They're not going to move forward until you say, hey, yeah, I can hear you. And one of the best ways to say, yeah, I can hear you, is to like recognize that they're talking to you. Oh yeah, testing, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I can hear you. What do you want to say? Cool, I'm going to go out and do that now. So I'm so glad that you recognize that, Angie. That's awesome. And thank you for being able to share that with us too. And I'm so glad that the courage card spoke to you as well, Josie. That's so perfect. Okay, so we've got Lorianne here. Hi, Lorianne. Thanks for joining us. Lorianne's wondering about her sister's conflict with her. What do you need to know about that? I've got a bit of heartache that's coming up with this. And so I don't know if this is because this is a relationship or relationships. I can't tell if you're talking about more than one sister. So yeah, the conflict that I have coming up within oneself, it feels like it could be an indication of like, I'm really sorry that our relationship is coming to this point, because I have a lot of love and a lot of respect for you. It feels like that could be part of where the heartache is coming from. Or the flip side of that is that I'm really sorry. I could have had an absolutely amazing relationship with my sisters, and I'm really sorry that that's not what I have. And so it feels like there's a certain amount of that you're kind of coming to terms with around the situation. It feels like there's a certain amount of grieving that's happening. And what I'm hearing is there is possibility for change in one aspect, but then the other thing, they're showing me that things are really staying as they are. I don't think that I have enough information from you to really be able to suss out what this is. But what I can give you is that it feels like there's like a grieving process or like a healing process that you're going through. When I talk about grief, it's not because of like a person who's passing. And in our society, in our culture, like that's how we recognize grief. Grief is what you feel and experience after somebody dies, which is true. But grief can also come from other endings as well, or other changes. So, for example, if somebody's life changes in a significant way in terms of how they're able to enjoy their lives, there can be a grieving process with that, because look at all the things that that person wanted to do that now, because of the way that life has shifted and changed, they're not able to do it. Or the grief that we have with the ending of a relationship. Like, we built this marriage and this relationship, and we had all of these different things that we wanted to do, and we had a life that we built together, and that's ended, and there's like a grieving that happens with that. So when I talk about grief, that's the kind of way that I'm seeing it coming up for you, is that the conflict itself feels like it's bringing a feeling of grief, and I'm wanting to focus on that for yourself, because it feels like as you focus on that and as you work through that, whatever is happening on a conflict level in your relationship, it feels like it gives you a different perspective and a new perspective. There is one part of it, as I said, that feels like there can be change and that there can be shift there and that there can be healing there. But I've got something else that's coming through that's showing me that it or they are really standing their ground, and they are not open to change. They're not open to shift. And if that's the case, then it feels like compromise is needing to be made. And I'm not sure that that's something that is possible. So as I said, I don't feel I have enough information to really be able to suss out what these messages mean, but I hope that you were able to glean what you needed from for that. Let's just ask the cards what message is coming up for Lorianne around the conflict that she's experiencing with her sisters. And the card that we have here is the Adriana card. And her message is, I am leading you toward the answer to your prayers. Please listen to and follow the steps I'm communicating through your intuition, thoughts, and dreams. So, I mean, they are trying to get your attention. And this is angels or guides or God or source or universe, whatever your belief system is. They are trying to get through. One thing to be aware of from a dream perspective, we do have the new moon coming up. I've talked about that a fair amount. And one of the things that can happen around the new moon and around the full moon, a couple of days before, during, and a couple of days after, is sleep disturbances. So sometimes we experience really vivid dreams that keep us from getting a really restful sleep. Other times sleep is something that we just can't get when we're up. Take this time this evening and tomorrow night to either like be open to dreams and messages coming through in that way, or taking time to meditate. I know for myself, if I'm having a hard time sleeping, and like, this is confession time here, instead of meditating or pulling some cards or whatever, I will like toss and turn, or maybe throw a Netflix movie on or something, just to have something going on in the background. And during the new moon and the full moon, when sleeplessness is apparent and at the surface like this, the call that is being made is to take that time to connect, to ask what is it that I need to know. So allow yourself that opportunity this evening. Lorianne, I'm so glad that you joined us tonight. Thank you so much for hopping on. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way to you. And, that things are resolved in a really beautiful way between you and your sister. And Danon, thank you so much for the heart and for the hey. If you wanted to ask a specific question, I would love to do a reading for you. The readings I do are psychic. I'm not a card reader. That's a small portion of it. So please ask a specific question. I'd love to tap in and see what's coming up for you. Okay, and Kristen, we've already connected with your question. Thank you. And Yuri and Carrie. Guy, hello. It's great to see you. And hello to Crystal. Carrie, I'm so glad you were laughing. That's good, because you had a really out there kind of message reading. Okay, so we've got Crystal. Hi, Crystal. Thanks for joining us. Crystal's asking, will the situation with my oldest son be dropped? Like, he's being set up. Okay, let's take a look and see what we have. What I'm hearing is not yet. There is still more that he is going through in this situation. And also what I'm seeing is it's being represented to me as like fancy footwork. So he's needing to dance around something, and there are things that he is going to need to do on his own part to I'm hearing like to advocate for himself in order to see a change in the situation. It's not just going to be like, hey, like, that's it, we're done, without him doing something. He's going to need to do something to advocate for himself or defend for himself, or Yeah, so he's definitely going to need to put some energy into this, because it's not just going away. It's not just being swept under the rug. And what I'm seeing is that this is pretty big life lesson for him too. Part of what's coming through is that there's only so much that you are going to be able to do, and I'm seeing him being like pushed up onto his own 2 feet. So there is some aspect that he's needing to do for himself. And so to really suss out what that could be is when he's had problems and challenge in the past. Are there things that you've identified that you have needed to step in, or somebody has needed to step in to help and support him? Like I'm being reminded of a family member who really struggles with making phone calls, even though this person has the time to do it. They've got different things. When it comes to making phone calls with like government agencies or like professionals or whatever, this person really struggles with that. And so one of the ways that family supports them is in helping them like get that information or making those phone calls. So take a look at what those things are for your son. Where is it that he has needed help and support with somebody stepping in? Because that's part of what this life lesson is that he's needing to find a way to do that for himself. And it feels like this is either building confidence or it's showing like accountability or something. But there is a big life lesson that's coming up for him in this. And that's why it's not just being dropped, because he is the one who needs to take action on it. And you can support him, you can like cheer him from the sidelines, but it's not something that you're going to be able to do. I'm torn with where we go. So I'm going to pull a card from the Archangel Oracle card deck because it feels like we're needing a bit of support. And I'm going to pull a card from the Mermaids and Dolphins, because the Mermaids and Dolphins are all about action and activity. So the card that we have here is the Hello from Heaven card. This is our mediumship card in the deck. And it's basically saying like your loved ones are safe, they're well on the other side, and they want you to know that they're around. Given what this question is about, I'm also seeing that there are loved ones on the other side that are helping and supporting your son in what he's going through. So let's say that Grandpa Joe passed over and he was really good at litigation or defending or, seeing a way through things. He's letting you know that he's around and he's able to help. So, is there anybody, any loved one on the other side who would really be able to help your son in the situation that he's in right now? Call on them and ask them for help. Say, hey, my son, he's in this experience, he's having this difficulty. Please help and support him, because I know that you were the best person for this when you were here. And I know you've got even more power on the other side. Sorry, power is the wrong word. But you've got even more ability because you can see more of what's happening on the other side. Specifically, the message is your loved ones in heaven are doing fine. Let go of worries and feel their loving blessings. So again, know that there's support there for you. And the action step that came up for you is the Have Faith card. When I look at the imagery of this card, we have a beautiful mermaid. I'll hold it up closer and hope that you can see it clearly. And she is breaking out of the water. It's dark, but she has pushed herself up and out. And if you notice, the clouds, they're right around her face, which again is looking up. It's looking to where she's wanting to go, and around her heart as well. Like her heart is uplifted, and that is really what's guiding her. And so, the message for you is there's not going to be a lot that you can do for him, but you can have faith. You can have faith in his ability to support himself. And even if it's something that he's not done before, have faith that it's something that he can do, because you know that he is a capable person. And also encouraging him to have faith in what he's able to do as well, because this part of this lesson could be around having the confidence to make those choices for himself too. It does feel like it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, and it feels like it's going to be a pretty big life lesson. Life lessons tend not to be easy, unfortunately, but I am seeing this being a really important time and an important phase in his life, and potentially an important time in your relationship with him as a parent. Kind of him on his bike and letting the bike go, letting him go, knowing that you've given him the best resources that you could. Crystal, I'm so incredibly glad that you joined us this evening. Thank you so much for hopping on. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support to you and to your son as well. And again, we'll call in the angels and we'll call in the loved ones on the other side and ask them for help and support. But know that he's in good hands. We have come to the end of our show for this evening. You guys, I am so incredibly grateful that you joined me tonight. It is always a gift and a pleasure for me to be able to connect with you in this way. I'm grateful for the time that you've taken out of your day. There are a couple of really quick things that I want to mention. We do have some spammers that come on the show. I don't usually get to them until the end of the night, and I turn off all of the commenting to prevent them from spamming you in the comments. Recently, over the last couple of weeks, one of the fun things that they've been doing is they've been clicking on the profiles of people who have commented on my live stream, and they've been soliciting them for readings on their personal profiles as well. And I think basically what they're seeing is they're seeing, hey, this is somebody who's potentially interested in readings because they're on my live feed where I am giving readings. And they said, this is somebody who would be interested in whatever nonsense I have to offer. So at this point, I'm not deleting comments after the show. But please, if you don't want to be pestered by some spammer on your personal page, I am not going to be in the least bit offended. If you feel the need to pull your comments off of the live feed, I totally understand. And I want you to do what feels best and right and safest for you. If I do find that we are starting to have issues with this, I'm going to make a change in terms of like how we do this broadcast, and it will shift so that the spammers can't get in. But at this point, I'm hoping that this is enough and that it works, and we'll go from there. Really quick reminder, the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be off. That means that I'm not expecting to do another Connection with Intention show for at least another couple of weeks. If I do have a spare hour somewhere in the time while family is visiting, then of course I'll hop on, but there won't be a lot of advance notice for it. So I hope you can make it if it's right. Bobby and I are going to be doing a pre-recorded Oracle chats. And that's because we've both realized that we have several weekends in August where neither of us are going to be able to be live. If you want to send in your general questions, we don't do readings on the Oracle Chats show, but if you have questions about spirit and mediumship and angels and psychic development and experiences that you've had, please hop over to our website. It's universalconnections.ca. There on the very top of the page, there's a form where you can send in the question that you have. All that is required is the question that you have and any additional information you want to include with it. Below, there are two more fields. The first field allows you to put in a name. You can say anonymous. You can come up with something really funky. We will only say the first name that is given if it looks like we are giving like a first name and a last name. And the reason that we're asking for something like this is so that when you go back and you watch the show, you can say, hey, that's the question that I sent in, so I'm going to pay extra attention. In addition, the last field that we have, again, it's not required, is your email address. If you want us to send you a message so we can let you know that A, we have answered your question, and B, it's going to be available for viewing on X date, then we can send you a message to let you know that. It's not required, and that's the only reason that we're going to use your email address, is just to let you know about the question and when you can find it on the different social media pages. So yes, for the next couple of weeks, I am sending you big hugs, lots of love and support, lots of angel blessings. My schedule is all closed off for the next couple of weeks and actually to the end of August. But if you absolutely need to get in touch for a reading, I might have a couple of appointments. Feel free to send me an email. Erin at heavenlymessenger.com. I can't guarantee I'm going to be responding to messages, but if I do see it and I am able to accommodate you, I'll certainly do my best. Sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.